All right. Do you have questions or anything before we start? Probably not. I mean, you've done this a lot.
I've done this a lot, yeah.
Yeah. And you've done it but usually when you get interviewed for stuff, well, whenever anyone gets interviewed for stuff, usually, unless it's a podcast, it's like 15 minutes. Tell us about the new Billy Madison.
Well, and it's also specific generally about a topic, either the movie I'm working on or on a specific something that's happening in the industry. It's usually case specific, so it doesn't last very long.
Yeah. Yeah. Why is that? I think, is it people's attention spans are short, or they just can't get you for very long? Why are interviews so short all the time?
Well, I think most of the media, especially, I think any media, but especially entertainment media, has a bent and has a slant, and they're trying to get their agenda. So that I think most of the people have already written the story, and they're just trying to get you to fill in what they need to write their story.
We need a clip from Todd Garner to round out this article about how everyone hated the last movie that he wrote.
Exactly. Or they're looking to smoke me in some way. And, like I had Tom King from the Wall Street Journal, who's since passed away, took me out, like just set me up so bad. He had an agenda and set me up and was waiting and was baiting me with questions so that I could answer in a certain way. And I did, and I fell right into the trap.
Like an interrogator?
And he destroyed me. Yeah.
What kind of things could get you in trouble?
His point of view was that I hated his point of view was I hated Pearl Harbor, and I didn't. I thought the movie was great. It was an idea that I came up with. I gave it to Jerry and Michael, and his agenda was he had heard that I was pissed off. And I was pissed off at Michael Eisner because I had left Disney. So I was pissed at Michael. And he had heard that at the premiere and then set me up by saying, "Oh, everybody missed you at the premiere. You should have been there." And I said, "No, I shouldn't have been there. I just had a baby, which was my second greatest creation." So
second greatest creation?
So he said that my son was my second great. He flipped the quote. And he said, "Look, you gave me an ambiguous quote. You didn't say the movie was the second best creation." So he quoted me as saying my son was.
He should have clarified that.
Oh, no, so I said,
But he did it on purpose.
Oh, on purpose.
Yeah.
And he told me straight up. And I was a young exec. And I said, he goes, "I'm taking you to lunch." And I went to lunch with him. And I was going to kill him. I was so pissed.
Yeah, that's mean. Because your kid's going to read that in 10 years and be like,
he said, well, it's since kind of gone away, although now I'm bringing it back up. He said to me, "Look, I'm giving you a gift. You'll never do that again." And I haven't never done that again.
Yeah, but
I'm really specific about any quotes now.
You don't have to get your leg chopped off to know that you shouldn't step on a landmine.
He also wrote the David Geffen biography. I mean, he was that kind of reporter. He had a brain aneurysm and died at 38. So I mean, it's just really sad. Thanks. So I can't feel. Yeah, I feel terrible for his family and him and everything. But man, he just smoked me. So I'm always a little cautious with press.
You don't have to worry about that. We'll edit out anything that's like, "Dad, why did you say that I'm your third greatest creation? Does that mean you like my brother better?" Yes, that's what that means.
I read it and I couldn't believe it. There were 2 cartoons of me crying as the ship was sailing away. It was just so bad and so not what I was intending at all.
It just seems so unnecessary to do that.
Well, I know. Well, he was a story, and he wanted to say that we're all assholes and crybabies in the movie business, basically. That was his point of view.
As opposed to just being an asshole journalist who tries to make people look bad deliberately.
And he was totally fine owning that. And what's interesting is I just did one on my podcast with Ben Fritz, who writes for the Wall Street Journal. We talked about it a little bit. He's the polar opposite of that guy. He's great. He's one of the greatest reporters. I loved his book. He wrote a book called The Big Picture, which is great about the movie business. And he's an amazing guy. And so look, it just depends on what. So yeah, the reason why interviews are short is if you've already written the story and you're just trying to get to a couple of quotes to prove your thesis, then it doesn't take very long.
Yeah, then you don't need any real info from the person you're interviewing.
No.
Although, admittedly, you were kind of hard to prep. I looked up the usual outlets, like Wikipedia, and I was like, okay, Todd Garner is an American movie producer, XXX, right. All these other flicks, and were listed, and they're cited. And then I was like, okay, that's the bottom of this. And then I was like, all right, IMDb, this is your industry, it's going to have a ton. Right. You don't even have a freaking photo in there.
Well, I'm trying, because I'm really not... I don't really make Todd Garner movies necessarily. I try to work hard on every movie so that I can make their movies. So if I'm working on an Adam Sandler movie, I make an Adam Sandler movie. If I make Tag, I made Jeff Tomsik's movie, who was the director. So, and when I worked on, I made 9 movies with Jerry as an exexecutive, and so I made Jerry Bruckheimer, and I made Jerry Bruckheimer movies, and so. And the reason why I have been able to work with people over and over and over again is I make their movies. So I don't need a picture in IMDb. It's like I'm just one of the guys who's trying to keep the ship going in the same direction, and I'm trying to let the artist get their best version of what they have in their head out. And so I'm truly behind the scenes and really just trying to, do the best I can with the knowledge that I have, having done this so long. To get that on the screen. Okay,
so that brings up an interesting question, which is what the heck does a producer actually do? Because people in the movie business, they're like, they're in charge of, and then you're like, well, if you're an executive producer, all you do is cut a check or something. Right. And I'm like, well, what if you're like not just an executive producer? Right. Then what do you do? People kind of know what directors do. They sit in a chair and they yell cut and then they yell at people, right? That's the image that I have as a non-industry person. Everybody else is kind of a black box.
Yeah. Well, that's why I did doing this podcast called Producer's Guide, because I've been asked that question so many times, and I finally thought, well, you know what? I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer it in long form and talk to people who do it. So I've been talking to a lot of really, really, competent, great producers. And so the answer is it's a title that is a catch-all for a lot of things. So there are guys who just write the checks, and they are very necessary. We need funding to make movies, so you cannot negate their role in getting movies made, especially independent movies, and they deserve it. They're taking a massive risk, putting their money where their mouth is. So, they deserve that credit. Generally, it's an executive producer credit because they are producing that piece of content by writing a check.
Sure.
So they deserve it. Then there's co-producers but mostly the executive producer title is generally used for people that's job is not primarily day in, day out pushing the rock up the hill.
Okay.
So if an actor wants creative control or wants to be there every day and make sure that he's being listened to or she's being listened to, in the marketing and the script and the distribution of it all, then they deserve a producer credit because they're doing things that are outside of the bounds of a normal actor's role. Directors also take producer credits for that very reason too. They want to be a part of all of those things rather than just, as you said, being on set and editing the movie. So that executive producer credit is generally a catch-all for all those different various things. And when you get into the independent world, it gets a little bit more cloudy. Because, sometimes you're taking money from lots of different people. Mm-hmm. Somebody helped you get this introduction. This manager got this actor in that got you the financing. So you're trying to throw all those people, their deserved credit.
That's why there's like 25 producers listed sometimes.
Sometimes,
how do they need that many people? And the answer is you got to get this thing off the ground somehow.
And again, and especially in the independent world, you can get, a certain amount of money would get you so far, and then you need a little bit more money, and then you just need this to finish it. But then you need this actor to get the guaranteed distribution. So you're kind of rolling that rock, up the hill, and each layer you're adding another producer. But that being said, what I do, and Neil Moritz and Michael DeLuca and Lorenzo de Buenaventura and the friends and Marty Bowen, the friends that I have that do the job, we do it every day. So we're there from the beginning to the end. So we find the material, we get the writers to develop
material being
anything. So it could be an article like Tag, it could be or Con Air was an article. It could be an idea that you have just out of your head, like anger management. That was just an idea that I had because it had happened to a friend of mine. And
that was based on some semblance of a true.
It was absolutely a true story. My friend Conrad Goody, who was an ex-NFL player, unfortunately was involved in an altercation at a bar. He got into a fight with a couple of guys, and then he was sentenced to go to anger management. And I hate to laugh, but he was sentenced to go to anger management. And one night we were out, and I said, come on, let's go out. He goes, I can't. I got to get up at 6 a.m. And I said, why? And he goes, I got to go to anger management.
Wow, that's early.
Yeah, well, and he said, you want to know the only thing that makes me angry? Having to go to anger management. I thought that is the best sense of irony. So that stuck in my head. So I was at Revolution at the time. I had a writer write the script. I said, write this for Adam Sandler, who's the least angry person on the planet, but gets involved in a situation. Because my friend Conrad is a gentle soul. And and then he's sentenced to anger management. And I was thinking, who's the one person that would scare the crap out of Adam Sandler? And I said, bro, just write it for Jack Nicholson.
Oh, yeah.
And we got him. And, Sandler was the first one in because I have a very deep relationship with him. And then he got Nicholson. So like that we took, I went through that process every step of the way. And I'm on set every day. On the movie, boots on the ground, making sure that everything is going the way it's supposed to go, both from the point of view of what the studio or the financier wants, but also, again, what the person whose movie it is, whether it be the director, the actor, or both, to make sure that every day we're getting the best of that we can on a daily basis, and the fact that anybody who is away from their family for that long, who's out there on the set, is being well taken care of. That if anybody listens to my podcast, you'll find we talk about catering a lot.
Yeah, the producer's guide is the name of the show. We'll link to it in the show notes.
Thank you. But we talk about catering a lot because
that's funny.
That's honestly, I was talking to a writer yesterday. Her name is Paula Pell, and she wrote a movie that sounds like it's going to be the best movie and so much fun. They shot it in Napa. They had like Tina Fey and Kristen Wiig and Maya Rudolph, all these great women in it. And she said, and catering wasn't very good. I'm like, you can still be in Napa with all your friends writing.
Yeah, and how's that work?
And if the food's not good and you're away from your family and you're there and you're eating 3 meals a day on set and it's not great, that makes a huge difference. The only way to know as a producer is if you're there eating the food with people. And where you live and how you live. I shot a movie in Royal Oak, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No
I shot Into the Storm there. And I lived in Royal Oak and we shot in Pontiac. And so, being there and, knowing what the crew was doing every day. And we were there for Arts, Beats, and Eats. And,
oh, yeah.
And so, being able to bring the cast and crew together, and we played poker and we hung out. Like, it just makes it such a great experience, and it keeps people motivated. It keeps people happy. Because, look, it's just a movie at the end of the day. And so if you're not happy and you're not eating well and you're not sleeping well and you're not being well taken care of, it's just a bummer.
Yeah.
And it's not worth doing.
That's interesting to hear because you think like, the project and all of this. But yeah, if you're miserable during the whole time, that's what you're going to remember about it.
Yeah. And so for me, I don't necessarily think it matters one way or another in terms of the quality, because I'm sure that I've heard of tons of movie sets that have been miserable and the movies are fantastic. So I don't think it matters in that sense necessarily, although I think it would be hard to be funny and do a comedy if you were miserable. But I just want people to have a good time and have a good experience and come away feeling taken care of, because it's a job, and it's a hard job because you're out there and generally in the elements and for a long time away from your loved ones, and you should be well taken care of and feel like you are in good hands. And so in terms of just long story short, and that's what a producer does, in my opinion, is not just see to the management of all of the different people that are giving you money or have creative input or trying to get this project through to fruition, but also somebody who's there cares enough that's going to make sure that everybody's taken care of. Yeah,
I feel like that has to be critically important, which I never really thought about it. I thought, okay, someone's got to manage this. But I guess we, as industry outsiders, we just kind of figure there's somebody who does that, director's assistant or something. But we don't. I guess so that makes sense that there's got to be essentially like a CEO of a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that...
Or COO.
Yeah, I would say that the COO is probably better. I mean, CEO in terms of the CEO of a movie generally is the studio, and all of the people that work there, and the executives that work there, and then there's also a line producer whose job is to he's responsible for every line of the budget. He's moving the trucks around. He's making sure that every dollar and every penny is spent in the most efficient way. Jeez. And that person also really is the one who hires the caterer, really is the one who is like really closest to it. I mean, he's like, Radar O'Reilly from MASH. Like, he's there. He's got to make sure that everything's being done. And I've been fortunate to work with some really, really wonderful line producers.
That's a job that I don't think I would ever want.
Oh, it's tough. It's every day. Every day it's tough because, it's a fluid, giant company that's moving very slowly every day. And you're beholden to the weather. You're beholden to people's, being sick or moods and actors' availabilities. And there's so many moving parts. And generally I find that these people are very calm. They have a great demeanor. They're unflappable. And they've, probably have done it so many times, have seen everything. We had on TAG an interesting experience. I had never shot in Atlanta during the summer. And so
it's got to be hot as heck.
It's hot, and it has a thunderstorm once a day, which, by the way, when I was shot in Royal Oak, I was promised that during the summer it would rain every day in Michigan.
Yeah,
and it did not rain once.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
global warming.
We needed rain every day, and I didn't get it once. So I had to bring in cranes and rainmakers. In Atlanta, I didn't want it to rain ever, and it rained every day. And so the first week of production, we were 3 days in. We had already lost 4.5 hours due to rain. Due to lightning. And so what happens is if a lightning strike happens and you're using a generator anywhere within 6 mile radius of this generator, you have to shut down.
Oh, wow.
For a half hour since the last lightning strike, because it will be attracted to the generator and someone could get really hurt.
Didn't realize that.
So we shut the generators down. We all go inside and you wait, and then a lightning strike happens. You have another half hour. So we had lost 4.5 hours in 3 days to lightning.
What do you do during that time? I mean, you probably have a ton of work you can do.
You work and you sit and you wait and you plan and you think about, okay, how do we adjust? We're losing this time. Can we move stuff around, get people ready, make sure it's safe? First of all, make sure everyone's safe, and then make sure that when we get the all clear, we're ready to go. And on the third day, Jeremy Renner broke both his arms.
Wait, how did that happen?
So he was doing a stunt, an easy stunt, and he was in a rig that had pick points, which are these points for the cable to hold on his hips, and he was supposed to glide down on these chairs that were bracketed in, and it didn't move quick enough, so he jumped off, and his weight, he was top heavy, he flipped upside down in the rig. It's a decelerator rig, but he landed on both his arms and broke both his arms.
Ouch.
So that's a little scary.
Yeah.
3 days in, when your lead actor breaks both his arms, first day shooting.
What do you do? I mean,
he went to the hospital, and you do what you do. You say, okay, we got to pivot. We have to assume he's coming back. We have to assume we're going to finish this movie. We have to keep going. We have to adjust. We have to keep shooting. Let's make sure he's safe, get him to a hospital, make sure his needs are taken care of, and communicate with him and his people to see when he's going to come back. He was only gone 4 hours. He's a beast.
And then came back?
Came back with casts on his arms.
And just did the rest of the...
Yep. Did the rest of the movie, and then we put green...
Impressive.
We put green, tracking devices and painted out the casts in his arms. Jeremy has CG arms and TAG.
Wow. So some graphics guy is just like a superhero for this movie, because you're like, hey, man... This might not be possible, but we need you to make it look like his arms are totally fine.
Yeah, and he did. And and then you also adjust with costumes. You get the costumer there, and you start to put him in long sleeves because you don't want to have to paint out every frame. So any scene he's in long sleeves. But that's just kind of thing that happens during a typical day of making a movie.
Unbelievable. Talk about Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
It's like
that is a movie set is the epitome of Murphy's Law. So you have. You're generally outside, so you're beholden. So there's that. You're at the mercy of the weather. You have 300 or 400 people all doing a job, any one of which can really cause havoc to your day. If someone is having a bad day or makes a mistake or something happens, it happens. You have stunts, you have lighting, and and general performance issues and people's moods and life and So every day is some potential to go wrong. I shot a movie in the Dominican Republic, and I called it Getting DR'd, because every single day I would come down. I was living, I live in the same hotel where the crew is generally, so that keep an eye on everybody, make sure everybody's taken care of. And every day the elevator would open, and I would go, all right, who's going to be in the lobby when the elevator opens to give me some version of bad news? And every day the elevator would open, they'd be like, well, because we were shooting an action comedy, all of our guns are in customs, and they're not letting them out. And we're supposed to use the guns today. Man. I go, well, the police have guns. Let's see if we can use the police's guns. And they go,
it sounds safe.
Yeah. Well, we did. And, it's blanks. And so, or we won't shoot. We'll just have the guys do like you did when you're a kid, like go pew, and then we'll just put a CG muzzle flash. We did that. So it's every day. And then the lowest moment of my producing career to date was we were about 3 weeks from wrap. And it was really hard. It was hard to move around. It was hard to get stuff done. It was a hard movie. It was a really hard movie to make. And the director and I were sitting in the place where we eat, and this trailer that we eat, and we had styrofoam plates and really flimsy cutlery. Like bendy, bad picnic forks. Worst. And he looked at me and he said, "Todd, can't we just get the heavy duty paper picnic plates?"
Chinette, man.
Right. Just Chinette. And I looked at him and I said, the amount of effort it would take me to try to get those down here.
Yeah.
Because I'd have to get thousands of them because there's, 300 crew, and fail would break me.
Yeah.
The fact that I would try and I would not be able to do it would break me. Please don't make me try to do that. We have 3 more weeks. Let's just get through this.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't even use, ceramic, because they would wash them and you'd get sick. We had 8. We had 8 principal people go to the hospital for foodborne.
I was going to say, you're fine. You got catering that you vet them for this.
You do vet it, but anything that's being rinsed, just salad. The person who got it the worst was our stunt coordinator, because he's in great shape. So the first 4 days he was there, he's just eating salad. And he's being clean, and he's
got all these worms.
Went down, and then he's the stunt coordinator. So now you go, okay, well, we can't. No stunts, because you can't do stunts without the stunt coordinator. We got to totally readjust the schedule while he's in the hospital for 3 days.
Oh, he had to go to the hospital.
8 people in the hospital. Not just like everybody threw up. Everybody was sick. But 8 people actually in the hospital, IVs, and anti-nausea, trying to,
Because even though you're like, look, rinse it with purified water. It's like, but it was farmed and then it got...
Whatever it was. Yeah. There's no way. You're in a third world country, you're making a movie. It's hard. And the movie looks great, and that was worth it. But it's hard.
It was worth it if you weren't one of the people who went to the hospital.
I didn't go to the hospital, but I did get sick. And you're there. And again, that's another moment as a producer. If you want to do this job and you want to be in this business, when you're there, it's miserable, but you're all miserable together. We watched the Super Bowl together there in the hotel. Cool. It's like, you're there, and you're like, and they see that I'm not like living in some Airbnb, away from them. I'm there in the hotel. Yeah. We're making this movie.
You got your boots on.
Yeah. We're making the movie. I'm there. I was there every day. And so and that matters. And that's the way I wanted to do the job when I was an executive for 20 years. And when I decided I wanted to do this, that's the way I wanted to do this job.
Yeah. You wanted to get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
So to speak. Yeah. So, well, your producer says you're a nice guy. I know you're a nice guy, but I would imagine you got to muster an inner drill sergeant to be like, look, I'm not going to be nice if you don't get this thing done.
For sure.
Like, you've got to, how do you get into butt kicking mode?
Well, Rob Riggle and I talked about that. He was in the military, and it honestly, a movie is a military operation, and the way that the military teaches leadership and organization is very similar to the way a movie is organized. There are clear definitions of what your job is, and and most movies are unionized, so it's very clear of what you can do. I can't walk over and fix a light. I'm not picking up a cable. There's no bueno with the union rules.
Really?
Yeah, everybody has a specific job, very much like in the Army. And so my job is to lead the way in terms of making sure that every day we're moving in the right direction safely, and that everybody knows their job, and everybody is the best they can possibly be at doing their job, and everybody knows the direction we're headed, very much like a military operation. Yeah. We all know what the objective is. We're taking the beach, literally or figuratively. Yeah. And we know how we're going to do it. We're going to roll in. We're going to set up the lights first, cables, camera's going to come in second. We're going to rehearse. We're going to know what we're doing. We're not bringing actors up where we don't know what we're doing. We're going to know what we're doing so that by the time the actors get there, we know exactly what we're doing. We know where the camera is. Then we can get the actors comfortable. We can adjust based on their comfort level. If actors are feeling like the blocking's not working great, then we're going to send the actors away, make sure they're comfortable, get them ready, get them in hair and makeup. So that's not a lot of time wasted. But while we're resetting and getting the cameras ready, make sure everything's set and ready. Everybody's in their place. Bring the actors in and let them do their thing. and give them the space to be great and let them, let the greatness and the performance that best they can be come out of them. Then send them away, break down, go, reset, move, do it again.
Jeez.
And so you're figuring a movie generally, I've seen there's just crazy people like Michael Bay that gets like 50 setups a day because he's just moving like crazy and quickly. But generally, you're getting 5 to 10 setups a day. So everything I just described, moving 150 people, you're doing 5 to 10 times a day.
Oh man, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So you're, and every day every day we have an objective. We have a scene or scenes to get through. We know it's on the schedule. The studio expects you to get that. They expect the highest quality. They expect that the performances are going to be good. They're going to expect that you're going to get, the highest quality you can on the screen. You're putting everything you can up there. And so, there's a report that starts in the morning about when you start, when did you start shooting? There's a wrap report. It goes to the studio. Everybody's clear on the objective every single day. And then the next day you do it again.
The amount of pressure involved is extreme. How do you find the balance between being this sort of inspirational leader and people are like, yeah, let's get this done. We're feeling good about it. Todd's sort of leading the charge versus, okay, now I need to turn into evil Todd and be like, let's get this done or,
Right.
You're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. First of all, the word leadership and in charge is sort of very kind of fluid.
Sure,
because at any one moment, anybody can really be in charge, So the line producer is generally in charge every day. He or she has the really of the lion on their back. The director's obviously in charge of the creative vision of the movie. The actors are in charge of their own performances. So I hate to say that I'm in charge, but I definitely am the one who's sort of overseeing and making sure that everybody who is in charge is having the resources they can to do their best work. So. I'm constantly trying to cajole and make sure that people are getting the best out of themselves. If they're not, then I'm going to let them know and be very honest with people. There's no reason to just be mean for no reason, but there is a time and place to be honest with people and saying we're not getting what we want. You're not. I've had actors that just misbehave and heroes of mine that have misbehaved, and I take them aside and I've taken them to trailers and said, you're breaking my heart right now because you're a hero of mine and you're acting like a child. And so how can I help you? What's the matter? Why are you behaving this way? And generally that works. Generally it's like, look, I'm pissed about this, or this person's doing this, I'm not getting this, and then we can fix it because there's no reason to act that way in front of 50 people standing on a set.
It's a little embarrassing when you hear about it. I mean, how often do these meltdown type of things happen? Like you see this, you hear the audio of like Christian Bale has a meltdown, and you're thinking, does this happen all the time, or is it so rare that it just makes news?
It's rare. I mean, look, Christian Bale's a beast. He's a stud. I mean, he's an unbelievable actor, and I have no idea what happened there.
Oh yeah,
and so it's hard to know. But generally, the times I've seen people melt down, there's a reason behind. There's a real psychological reason behind it. Meaning, like that's been building for days. That there's been disagreements. There's there's could be a million reasons, but like they're feeling like the movie's not the movie they thought they were going to make. Their performance isn't great. They haven't slept in 5 days. They're missing their loved one. I mean, there's a million reasons that can happen, and then the spark happens, and then you get that moment. And so, generally, when I've had actors do that, I can take them aside and say, hey, what's going on? What's happening there? And you can generally solve it. Unless it's just, I hate this movie and this isn't what I signed on for and I don't want to be here. In which case that happens, in which case you're like, well, okay, we have to get through this. That's why we have contracts. That's why we have legally binding, agreements, so that we have to suck it up and we have to get through it. And sometimes that happens. And you say, oh, I'm going to try to make you as comfortable as possible, but it's going to suck. And then if there's somebody who for example, when Jeremy broke both his arms, we looked very carefully. Was this a stunt rig issue? Like, did this stunt? And the stunt coordinator felt horrible.
Sure, yeah.
And we looked at it really, both for legal reasons, but secondarily just to say, are you the right guy for the job? And he absolutely was. He didn't do anything wrong. It was an unfortunate thing. Jeremy admitted, it was an unfortunate accident, and he didn't hold anybody to blame. I have had other movies where something should have been easy And we fired the stunt coordinator because something should have been easy. A stunt person, was put in a position that it wasn't deathly dangerous, but it was dangerous enough that maybe the person fell, or just there was no reason to have that there. And we've gotten rid of that person immediately because there's no reason to get hurt from a movie ever.
Yeah.
And so that's when I guess you could say the evil Todd comes out, where I have no tolerance for that, and I have no problem telling somebody you're going the next plane home.
How do you replace someone? How often do you have to replace someone in the middle of a shoot like that? That seems tricky. Hey, we're in the Dominican Republic. You're fired. We need to. Studio. We need a new stunt coordinator.
It didn't. Well, that wasn't on that movie. The stunt coordinator was amazing on that movie.
Yeah, just for example.
I have, look. I would say, I'm going to be. This is probably an exaggeration, but I would say once a movie, someone gets replaced. You just see like it's not a good fit. They're not up to the job. It's just not working. There's just not, it's just not feeling right. But I would say once a movie, I'm generally somebody, and it's not dramatic. Generally, once a movie, someone doesn't work out. Like a script supervisor isn't vibing with the director, and it's just not working out. And then you replace that person. And the studio was used to it. I mean, most people know that out of 300 or 400 people for 4 or 5 months, somebody's going to probably be replaced. The sheer probability of somebody being replaced. And, DPs get replaced a lot. Directors of photography get replaced a lot. The studio doesn't like the look of the movie. They thought the movie was going to look one way, and the director of photography had another version in his mind or her mind, and that doesn't work out. They'll sometimes get replaced. Assistant directors get replaced all the time because the assistant director has to really keep the ship, the train's running on time. They have to go get the actors, and sometimes when they get behind, they're usually the first to get thrown under the bus.
Yeah,
and so kind of trickles up till finally I get fired. But like there's a lot of layers, before it's like, oh, it's really a producing problem, So it's not generally dramatic. Stunt coordinators, it's unfortunate because you expect them to really do their job and dig in, and so if I ever feel something is squirrely, there's zero tolerance for that.
Yeah, you can't have somebody get blown up or hit by a truck or something like that.
No, you hear about these things happening all the time, and it's just there's anybody, least of all an actor, but nobody should ever be put in that position.
Yikes. Yeah. How do you last so long in an industry that's known for being so cutthroat, right? Is it about making the right allies? Is it about resilience? It's probably got to be a little bit of both.
Resilience and tenacity are probably the two most important assets you can have if you want to have longevity in this business. And then also, beyond that, you have to have people that want to work with you. You couldn't just be resilient and tenacious and be a complete asshole every day and torture people and throw people under the bus and be dishonest. The other thing we talk about a lot on the podcast, but it's also true in the business, is trust. That you just have to trust one another. For me, the director has to really trust me, and the actors have to really trust the director, and then therefore me, that we're not going to lie to them. So, I won't say to a director, oh, sure, you're going to have that many days, and then come and take days away and, say, well, you're going to have 40 days to shoot this movie. And then he shows up or she shows up and it's 37. And I'm like, oh, screw you. We're already shooting. Yeah. That's not going to work. You can't tell an actor, try this performance this way. Don't worry, we won't use it. And then use it. That won't last long because the actor will be like, forget you. I'm never trusting you again. Trust is a huge thing. Honesty. So tenacity and honesty and resilience and being able to handle rejection every single day, because it's not just you're not just rejected on a daily basis. You're generally rejected on an hourly basis.
Really? In what
Every way. In a way that let's say you've seen an article that you really think would make a great movie and you can't get it. They won't give you the rights, or somebody else gets it, or there's a specific writer you really want to work with and they don't want to do it, or they crap out. They write a bad draft. There's a director you want that they don't want to do it. There's an actor you want, they don't want to do it. You want to get your movie made at the studio, they don't want to make it. You want your budget to be X and they don't want to do it for X. It's every day.
Yeah.
So, and the only way to be successful today in the business is to have a ton of inventory, meaning a bunch of stuff you're passionate about that you're pushing forward. If you just have one project, you're going to be really disappointed probably in the long run, because it's hard to get anything made. And so if you just have one thing you're pushing along, the chances of you getting it made are really slim. And so you need to have a bunch of things. And even having a bunch of things, the chances are really slim. But at least if you have a bunch of things you're really passionate about and pushing forward, you have a greater chance of at least getting one or two of those across the finish line. And so if you have a bunch of things you're passionate about, it's not like you're going to have less rejection. You're going to have exponentially more rejection.
So yeah, that leads into one of my curiosity points here, because I thought, okay, are you just working on one idea and it's all in, or are there too many good ideas that you have to prioritize which one you're going to dive into?
There's not too many good ideas. I mean, any good idea is a good idea, and you're hopeful on wanting to make it. So you have to have a bunch of irons in the fire that you're really passionate about. You can't just be throwing shit against the wall and seeing if it sticks. You have things that you're passionate about. That's number one. So on the top level, you're just saying, okay, let's just for the math say I have 10 things I'm passionate about that I'm pushing forward. You can't also have all your eggs in one basket. Like I couldn't just have 10 R-rated male-driven comedies, because as we're seeing, the business is shifting slightly and those aren't really taking fire like they used to. So if I had just 10 R-rated male-driven comedies, I would probably be in big trouble, because they're not making that many of those anymore. So you have to have diversity in your slate. So you have to have numbers that you're passionate about. You have to have diversity and be passionate about it. And then you have to put those things in the right place, because if you have the right project in the wrong place, you're never going to get it made. So you have to be strategic about where you put those projects, and you have to be able to manage those projects in a way where you're giving 100% focus to each one for a certain amount of time each day. And some don't need it. Like when a writer's writing a project, that's usually 2-3 months where you don't have to think about that, because it's in the writer's hands. So then you can focus on the stuff that does need your attention. And every day, and what has been really helpful for me, because I listen to this podcast a lot, and I'm always like, oh, man, these guys are so smart, and they do so many things I don't do with pyramids and things like that. But what I will say I do is I have adopted over the years habits of waking up and looking at all my projects and saying, okay, what can I do on this today to move the bar? Just move the ball a little bit forward. What can I do? And so then I try to do that one thing I can do on that project or two, and then just try to each day go through my list and just be diligent that every day I have the habit of trying to just do one thing for each thing every day to give it a better chance of getting made.
Do you ever try not to get too excited about something because you think, oh, this is probably not going to happen, I don't want to get my hopes up? Or if you is it all kind of just numbers on a spreadsheet until you're shooting the movie?
God, I wish. I'm passionate about everything, and it's so soul crushing. It's horrible. Here's the problem. Here's my biggest problem in my life, in my personal life, is I am not great with risk. Mm-hmm. Like everybody's like talks about being an entrepreneur, like Phil Hellmuth talked about tolerance for risk.
Yeah.
I generally don't have any tolerance for risk. Like I don't love risk, and I'm in the most risky business on the planet.
Like,
so I've done a horrible disservice to my psyche because I'm not comfortable with risk. I'm in the most risky business there probably is outside of. I mean, it's obviously not dangerous, but in terms of like other than poker playing, I don't think you can have worse odds.
Yeah.
And so my business is gambling, right? So the odds of something succeeding are the same as playing, roulette, I would imagine.
Oh, man.
And I'm not comfortable with the risk.
Right.
So, and I'm not dispassionate. So it's the worst combination of I'm not comfortable with risk and I'm hugely passionate about everything I do. So it just leads to a real lot of disappointment in my life.
Getting like beat up constantly.
It's constantly getting beat up. And I keep thinking like, okay, this time I've learned my lesson. I'm not going to get excited. I'm not going to have my expectations too high, and I can't do it. I try not to, but it takes so long for a movie to come out in your head. You're like, what if it did this? What if it did this? What if it did that? What if it did that? And then it's going to do what it's going to do. And human beings can't help it. We're always trying to think something's going to be better than it is, and it generally never, very, very, very rarely exceeds expectations. You always somewhere in the back of your mind had that even high level of expectation that it's met. Most of the time it disappoints you. And again, it's like rejection. You have to be able to just pick yourself up. So resilience and tenacity are the things that I do have. But man, I have not set up a great life for my psyche, that's for sure.
Yeah, just the up and down. It's like, but at some point it's got to be fun enough or exciting enough that the one payoff, then you can sort of rationalize that the rest of it was worthwhile, right?
I love it. It's not just one payoff for me. So I just had this movie called Tag come out. It opened against The Incredibles that opened to $185 million. Nice. That was fun.
Yeah.
And so our movie made $15 million, which obviously was not what I would hoping it would do. I'd hope it'd do a lot more. But again, in the face of that kind of competition, it's hard for a R-rated comedy to really get any traction against the biggest animated movie of all time, and a great movie, by the way. They deserve it. And so, but if that's all I was going for, if I was just going for like the highest gross, I would be massively disappointed. But that's not why I made it. I had the best time making the movie.
It seems like a fun crew of people to make a movie.
I loved every second of making that movie. Every moment we were on set was a joy. I mean, it's hard. Again, Jeremy Renner broke his arms. It was stressful, but I love everybody who on that movie. I love the cast. I love the crew. It was an amazing, amazing time. Then you get to preview the movie and you get to watch audiences watch it and laugh their asses off and then learn. So we learned a lot. We watch movies called previews and we'd watch with an audience and the audience would give us their feedback and we adjusted and we adjusted editing the movie. We did a couple of days of additional photography and screened it again. And you see it screened in a different way, which is so much fun. And then seeing it play, both in terms of just all of the screenings we did leading up to it, was so great. Then you go to the premiere and just hear everybody laugh with your family sitting next to you. It was so great. I still get really excited about that. And one of the things, I worked with the director and Jeff Wadlow, who wrote and directed True Memoirs, which was shot in the Dominican Republic. He was the one who said, "Can't we just get these plates?" The Dominican Republic really took it out of me, and I was in a specific moment where we were, it was a big day. We had a helicopter, and I was exhausted, and Kevin James was sick, and we were trying to get him well enough to shoot again, and I was done. I was cooked. And he said to me, he goes, what I do when I feel like this is I think of what would my 17-year-old self say in this moment. And I went, he's right. I'm sitting in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
I'm shooting a movie with Kevin's one of my best friends. And there's a helicopter and stunts. Like, what am I?
It's warm out.
It's warm. What am I freaking out about? Like if I went back and told my 17-year-old self, hey, you're going to be in this moment, he would be freaking out with excitement. So I try to keep that, because if you can do that and bank enough positive experiences along the way, then the result is the result. It's going to do what it's going to do. People are going to enjoy this movie forever. I guarantee it's one of the movies where later in my career people come up to me and say, I love that movie. Happened. So I was an executive on Con Air. I did not produce it. Still one of the movies people go, that movie was so much fun. It's so weird and so much fun. And 13 going on 30 women come up to me all the time and say it's one of their favorite movies. These things live beyond that opening weekend. And so what I try to do is bank enough positive experiences along the way that I can kind of hold on to, because the movie's going to come out and it's probably going to disappoint you, and it's probably not going to do what you hope in your wildest dreams it's going to do, but that's okay. And you move on, and then you go and you have great experiences on the next one.
Someone asked you once in a huge room full of people, why do you make such shitty movies?
Yeah.
First of all, how do you handle something like that happening in a crowded room?
Right. Well, that was a interesting experience for me. I was invited by my friend Marty Bowen, who's a really great producer, who's produced Love, Simon and Fault in Our Stars, and he's producing this movie called First Man. So he's a really high quality guy. Him and Wick Godfrey, who now runs Paramount, they're like high quality guys. They did the Twilight series. He invited me to the Nashville Screenwriting Conference, and he put me in a panel with a bunch of other Oscar winners. So I don't blame people. It's like a bunch of Oscar people, high quality movies, and the guy who produced Paul Blart Mall Cop. Like, I don't blame people for like, one of these things is definitely not like the other.
Yeah.
And this guy who's this older gentleman who was a screenwriter who, he asked me, he stood up and said, I have a question for you. Why do you make such shitty movies? And I had a long answer, which the story I've told a bunch of times was, because I just want to make people laugh and I want to entertain people and I want to give people joy. And there's a movie called Sullivan's Travels, Preston Sturges made, and it's about a guy who wants to make his Oscar movie. He's a comedy director, and he wants to make his Oscar movie. And he goes on this quest to find that story, and he ends up in prison, and they're playing a Three Stooges movie in prison, and he looks around, and the entire place for a moment is laughing and not stuck in their situation, which is obviously grim. And he learns the lesson of like, that's not so bad. It's not so bad to make people laugh and make people feel good. And so I was a more long-winded answer than that from something from my life, but I felt strongly that that's the calling I have is I just want to make people laugh and feel good. Obviously, I've worked on a lot of different movies. When I was an executive, I worked on Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? As an executive, I worked with Paul Thomas Anderson on Punch Drunk Love. As an executive, I worked on The Insider. I mean, so I've worked on a lot of really, really, high quality. I worked on High Fidelity. I've worked on really high quality movies. It's not like I'm setting out to make quote unquote shitty movies. I'm not. I'm wanting to entertain the world with the content that I put out there in whatever way is most beneficial to that particular genre or project. I'm making horror movies and action movies and comedies, and we're trying our best to do the best we can with what we have in that genre. And comedies especially are, there's a reason why, there's guys that are ventriloquists and guys that are magicians and guys that are R-rated comedy. I mean, R-rated stand-up, and there's guys that are, blue state comics and liberal comics, because it's not for everybody. You can't there's very few one joke that everybody in the world laughs at. So it's, especially if you're making a comedy for $20 million, you're not having the luxury of a $300 million movie that's going to throw everything and take you on an adventure outside of your realm of experience. Most comedies are specific to people's experiences and people's day-to-day life. And if you don't relate to that, then you're not going to get it probably. And it's probably going to seem stupid to you. And so, but if you get it, then you love it. So on this last movie, Tag, we had reviews that said it's the funniest movie of the year. And a couple even said ever. And some reviews said, this is the worst piece of shit I've ever seen. Jeez. And it's the same movie.
Right.
And they're both right, quite frankly.
You read all the reviews.
I don't read all of them. But the really extreme ones you read, and that's fine. And they're entitled to their opinion, and they're both right. Because for that person, they didn't get it. It's the same reason like when you were a kid and you were a teenager and you were in your car with your parents and you and your friends were crying about something, your parents just didn't get it. Or you live in the South and somebody lives in New York City, and your experiences are different. So, and that's why comedy generally doesn't travel around the world, is because it's specific to the region that it comes from. If you tried to watch, South Korean comedy, you'd probably like, or comedy from Mexico, you'd be like, what the hell is going on? And they think it's the greatest thing ever, and they're right, and you're right. So that's the answer to that question.
In Hollywood and in the industry, it seems like, at least to me as an outsider, you're only as good as your last movie. Is that kind of is that the general feeling, or is that just an outside perspective?
It depends. I mean, somebody told me when I had a movie that didn't work, the person said, you know how it is, Todd, when you have a hit movie, it's like magic, and everybody just wants to be a part of the magic, because it's hard to get a movie made, and it's even harder to have like a breakout hit.
Yeah.
And so when something just explodes, you just want to grab onto that thing because it's magic. Because there's no mathematical formula that you can place like, A plus B equals success. It just comes from so many different weird things happening at the exact right time in the zeitgeist and the quality of the movie. And so you just feel like it's magic. And so I would say in success, especially success that comes out of like unexpectedly, like Split or Get Out or Quiet Place, or even when I've had it with The Waterboy or Paul Blart Mall Cop, where it just comes out of nowhere, and people want to grab that and go, well, maybe the next one will be the same as the last one. And so I would say in success, people definitely want to be on the ride with you the next time because they feel like maybe they have a leg up on some sort of magic that's in the ether that they don't have, and that may or may not be true. I don't find generally that for most people one miss. It also depends. Like you can have a miss that's not your fault. You can have a miss of marketing. You can have a miss of timing. You can have a miss where it just didn't feel like the right time for the movie, or people weren't interested in it. But you made a good product, and so we as producers and certainly as executives, they're looking at it and going, no, if that was good, it was well directed, it was well acted, it just may not have been a huge commercial success, but I understand what that person was trying to do, and they seem like the right person for my project. If you have an actor that just gives a terrible performance and just misses completely, you probably aren't going to run out and hire that person to do it again. So it's a bit of a snarky, pessimistic way that, and for most of the movie business, and certainly again entertainment media, is slanted towards the negative, right? So that's where that comes from. Yeah. You're only as good as your last hit,
right?
I don't know. I mean, I've had a lot of failures, and every one of my friends who are producers have had failures, and they're still working, and they're and again, in success or failure, it's not like people are lining up to help you. It's not like everybody's handing you once you get to a certain thing, you get a card, and they go, hey, just show your card and we'll get into the ride. I have to work every day. No one's there are people that are fans that are helping me, and good friends that I have that have my back, certainly, and want me to succeed. But for the most part, I'm expected to do it myself. I'm expected to generate my own ideas and come up with movies that are going to work. That's my job, and I'm expected to do it. And so the frustration of people on the outside that can't get in think it's some insider Hollywood club where we're all, sipping champagne and laughing on people on the outside is not true. There's nowhere you can hide from the fact that it's hard and it's hard work, and you got to roll up your sleeves and do it.
How do you stay motivated and disciplined? Because it does seem like having a kid, raising the kid, sending it off to the world, and then being like, all right, fingers crossed, and then being like, let's do that all over again with all of the risk.
You have to love it.
Yeah, it seems like you'd just be like, okay, this was a really big success. I'm retiring so that this is the lasting impression I have on the world and the business.
Again, it's addictive, so it's not like you can do that. You go, I got to do that again.
Do it again. Yeah.
And I will say, again, if you were just doing it for that, you wouldn't make it. If you were just doing it for the gross, for the hit of like, I just want to make a lot of money in this business, you couldn't. There's so many better ways to make money than this. That would take less work.
Podcasting, so right?
Yeah, that's why I'm doing it now.
Yeah, right.
No, but there's so many better ways to make money than being in the movie business. There really is. It's so hard. You see guys like Ryan Murphy or women like Shonda Rhimes or this gentleman Ryan Coogler who did Creed and then did Black Panther. They're unicorns, man. They are just so gifted, and I'm just incredibly in awe of them. And Jason Blum, who's a producer who produces the horror. He's just so great, and they're so talented. I aspire to be like that. I aspire every day to try to figure it out, and I haven't figured it out yet by any stretch of the imagination. So that gets me excited because I want to figure it out. I want to learn. I would love to have a movie that just got into the zeitgeist and was like, just grabbed the world, and by the hand, and it would be great. And so every day I wake up going, man, I want to learn more. I love it. And so I want to be better. And I look and I watch those movies, and I'm just so in awe of the choices that they made, and wonder what choices I would have made differently, and how those things fit together. Again, like it's like magic, right?
Yeah.
So you want to figure out that magic, and there's no way to ever be at the top. There's no way to be great. There's ways to be great at it, but you can never stop learning. And that's what's so fun about it for me, is entertaining people, seeing people's reaction to the stuff that I do when it works, and just trying to get better.
Is there a point at which you think you can predict how a movie is going to do, or is it just like it's out there and you're like, this is going to be great, and it either is or isn't? Or is there a point at which you're like, you know what, this didn't really turn out?
I think you never know how a movie's going to do. You hope. You really do. Like I always go in hoping that it's going to be great and it's going to deliver on what it's promising. And but you never can really know how well something's going to do, because again, it's so subjective. And so, but you generally do have a pretty good idea when something's not working. Like
when do you find that out?
Pretty early. Pretty early when you're shooting.
Shoot.
You just see it and you go, it's not really working. It's not how I thought it was going to be. People aren't really getting it. The actors aren't really delivering what I thought, and it just doesn't feel like it's going to work. And then you can just do your best. You can't quit. You have to. Those are the ones that need you most. So you got to really,
That's
you got to really
painful.
Yeah, well, it's like if you're like a lifeguard and you see someone drowning, you can't just go, that's going to be hard on me.
Yeah.
You got to get in there and you got to try your best to save it and make it work the best you can. You have a responsibility to the people who gave you the money to do it. And so it's all hands on deck at that point. You just try to do your best and help give people the tools to rescue it as best you can. But I've never, when something's been like, where I've known something was going sideways early, it's never really recovered. It's recovered enough where it wasn't disaster, but you know, and so those are the only times where you go, man, this is unfortunate.
Yeah, that can't be a fun environment for probably anyone at that point.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not fun, and it doesn't happen very often. I mean, most of the time you're blindsided when something doesn't work. You know, I mean, there's been a couple
for better or for worse.
For better
right?
or for worse, you're blindsided because you're most of the time people are really going in there with genuinely good and well intentions, and it just doesn't catch fire.
Do you do a lot of hiring in your position? Do you hire people for the jobs in the movie, or is that somebody else's sort of gig?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's no sole. I don't solely hire anybody. So it's not like, New Line will say to me, go hire everybody.
Right. Okay.
It's always a committee. So you have your executives and the people that are, or your financiers that you're working with, and you're saying, okay, here are the type of director we want to try to get for this movie. And then it's my job to vet those people and to really go through and say, okay, who do you think is the right people? Who do I think is right people? Do those ideas mesh? If they don't, right there that's a problem. That's a big indicator. Like if I think, it's this kind of director in the studio's like, I think it's that kind of director. Doesn't matter who's right or wrong. That's a problem. Hopefully you're all in sync on that. And then my job is to vet the directors so that I can present a couple to the studio or financier so they can say, that seems like the right person. Then that process continues through everything down to, which is called above the line. So it's the writers, the actors, the director, and then the director then picks the DP and starts to cast. The director starts
above the line.
Above the line. So the line, it's basically below the line is all the craft people. So it's the grips, the camera department, catering, casting, all that stuff. Above the line is actors, writers, directors, producers, rights, those things. That's above the line. So my job is I'm really responsible to work with the financiers and the team to pick the above the line people. Mm-hmm. And then everything below the line generally is the responsibility of the director and the line producer. And, obviously I'll weigh in on the keys, the key production designer, the key costume designer, et cetera. I'll weigh in on that. But, that's generally more the director's area of expertise.
How do you evaluate the talent and the capability of people? It's obviously based on reputation, but it seems like there's got to be more to it. I mean, how do new people get a shot even?
Well, new people get a shot based on relationships, based on short films, based on things they've done. But for the most part, you're watching everything. You're trying to watch movies. You're looking at the movie to say, if you're hiring a director of photography, you're looking at the way the movie's lit. You're looking at the way the movie's shot. Does that seem like that person has the skill set for your particular movie? You don't, and for better or for worse, you don't want somebody who has done dark dramas to do a comedy or vice versa, generally.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody like Kevin Feige at Marvel, who sees Creed and goes, that guy can direct Black Panther. Like those, so there's also ways to extrapolate out into the future and say, I think that person has the talent to do this. And so that's how people move around and move up and do different things, is somebody else looked at them and said, man, I really think that person could do it. So we hired Jeff Tomsic, who directed Tag, off of television. But just you could see, the studio included, we all looked at it and said, no, his eye, the way he directs actors, feels like the right person for this.
What advice would you have for somebody who's maybe just getting into the business or is in the low to mid area of the business and they're like, I think I'm just stuck here. What do I need to do? Obviously, making relationships, making connections. We talk about that a lot on the show. But what else is there? What would I need to be doing right now if I'm holding stuff or putting together stuff at a lower end of the business? What would I need to be doing so that in 5 to 10 years I'm not still blocking off sidewalk traffic?
Right. So I'll just talk about the above the line.
Sure.
So if you want to be a producer, you either have to write your way out of it. So you have your own material to produce. You have to make relationships to find that material. You have to go out and find IP, meaning anything from comic books to articles to short stories to scripts to books. Get those pieces of material to move yourself out of that. Do your own self-rescue that way to be a producer. To be a director, direct. Get out there, do shorts, do stuff on your iPhone if that's all you can afford. Direct, and watch a ton of movies so that when you are directing, you're not just floundering around and things are in the wrong eye line, etc. If you want to be a writer, write. You got to just write. That's all you can do, and you got to write a lot and just keep going and keep writing, and then write and then put that out. Try to sell that. Do the next one, and don't get discouraged. If you want to be an actor, you got to act. You got to go to classes. You got to get up in theater. You got to get in shorts. You have to do commercials. You have to do television. You have to do everything. So you have to do it, and in the doing will come the recognition. There's no easy way. And again, I going back to the media and going back to just the negativity and which is also another reason why I did my podcast, is I just felt if you just read the news, the entertainment news, it's like you shouldn't even try. The movie business is over. Marvel has it all. I just got murdered by it. I just went up against a big, giant Pixar movie and got slaughtered. I'm not stopping. But if you read the press, it's like, why even try?
Yeah, why?
It's only going to be those movies. Forget it. No way. Not going to forget it. Get in there, man. I do it every day. I wake up and before I came here, I made 30 calls, thought about what I could do, thought about if there is, is there anything else more I can move my projects forward? Driving, trying to, listening to podcasts, going, is there any ideas here that could make? I'm constantly doing that, and I've been doing it for 28 years. So that's all you can do. You just have to do it, and if you do it and you stick with it, something good will happen.
Did you have? There's a sort of myth of like the big break. Did you have one of these? Is that a real thing, or is that just what us outsiders think happens? You're walking around one day and they're like, you have to be in my movie. That doesn't really happen, right?
No. No. I mean, yes, there are launching moments, right? So for John Krasinski as a director, the launching moment was Get Out. I mean, not Get Out. I'm sorry, Quiet Place. He's good. He's good now. He'll be able to direct.
Like, John Krasinski.
Yeah, no. Sorry. He won't. He'll be able, Jordan Peele. That's
right.
The person I was thinking about. He's set as a director for a while because he had that. But these two guys worked their asses off in comedy first.
Yeah. This is not their first gig.
No, and they wrote and they acted and they watched the director and they thought about directing and Jordan specifically every sketch would direct it essentially, and so he knew and he grinded on that thing for years. So. Yeah, he had a big break, but he had a ton of foundation laid before the big break was laid upon it. And for me, I had a million big breaks, right? So my first big break was I got an internship at Pacific Bell in their corporate video department.
Oh, wow.
When I was 19 years old, and I was an intern there, and I was exposed to editing, and that was a big break. And then another big break is I got a job at Paramount Television in finance, and I got on a lot. And once I was on the lot, I was able to look around and say, oh my gosh, there's this job called a creative executive. And I had a big break by getting a job at Disney, which is at that time probably one of the hardest places in terms of work ethic there were under Jeffrey Katzenberg. And they beat the shit out of us. We did notes constantly, and I was up till 2 a.m. reading scripts and doing notes every day. And it was like a masterclass in being a studio executive. That was a huge break. And then I got a unbelievably huge break by meeting Adam Sandler and getting to do The Waterboy. And, that was a huge moment for me in my career. Meeting Jerry Bruckheimer was massive for me, and sitting at his feet and watching him make movies. And then Joe Roth taking me under his wing and being a huge mentor to me and allowing me to join Revolution Studios was a massive, huge break for me. And meeting Kevin James was a huge break for me. And so I've had so many huge breaks along the way that have just helped me in my career and move me forward. And so you just kind of just hang on and keep doing the work and being ready for those moments when they arrive, because if you're ready and they present themselves, then that's going to be a big break for you.
So you have to be, yeah, of course. A lot of people maybe miss that part. You have to be prepared for that opportunity, because what's that phrase? It's like the luck is preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
I feel like I should know that by heart.
I know, me too, right? In fact, when I was talking, I was like, am I going to say that quote? And I realized I don't really know exactly what it is.
I always mix up where they go.
It's preparation. When preparation meets opportunity, that's equals luck.
Right.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that. And so hard work, and nothing is wasted. All of my failures I've learned from. And the lessons weren't necessarily apparent right at the moment. And there's certain things there's no way to I shouldn't have done that. Maybe we shouldn't have cast this person. Well, okay, that's not going to help you later down the line. But there are certain things where you just learn. All right, I learned from that. I understand why that didn't work. Okay, I'm going to not make that mistake again. So then it's not a failure. And so it's all of those things which allow you to just get better and better. And I'm just, I'm such a student of it, and I know how much I don't know, which is a lot. And so I learned so much, and I've learned so much from doing my podcast, because I just get to talk to these really talented people about their jobs, and it's my job, and I'm learning so much every day. And every time I watch something that's really great, I loved Deadpool, and I love Deadpool 2. And I want to just climb inside that movie and live there, because it's just so many good choices they made. And so I'm learning so much from those movies. And I have a lot of friends that worked on those movies, and it's just so great to see when something works on that level, to learn from that and to just study it. I'm learning something every day, and I'm trying to get better, so that in 5 years I'll have another big break, hopefully.
Yeah, as we wrap, why podcasting? When I think of ways to not make money, podcasting is like at the top of my list of adventures. Coming from the world of finance, it's like, what am I thinking?
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely not doing it for money.
Good.
There's no way I'm doing it for money. Why I'm doing it is a few reasons. One is I find that the business that I'm in generally has a negative bias.
Right.
And people have a negative bias inside, and the media certainly has a negative bias. And one of the culminating events, and kind of these things all have been happening over the years, but this pretty much last summer, it kind of all crystallized in a certain way. I was in Atlanta, and Marty Bowen, who's a hugely prolific producer, and a gentleman named Ori Marmer, who worked for Neil Moritz, obviously massively successful producers, and I were having a beer in Atlanta. We're on location, and we started talking about how bad the movie business is. And I stopped for a second. I said, guys, well, wait. Marty, you have 8 movies in post. 8. And
That's
Ori,
crazy.
you're working on Passengers with Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence, and you have the Fast and the Furious franchise and all these amazing movies. And I have 5 movies in post. and we're saying the movie business is bad.
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
If we're saying it, then what chance does somebody have that wants to do this? Are we people in the movie business and the content business plus the media, are we discouraging people from following their dreams because we're just have a negative bias? That's ridiculous to me. And secondarily, so many people ask what you did. What does a producer do? Is it like what I see on Entourage? Are you guys all assholes? Is it just guys, smoking pot and giving money?
I will admit, I was surprised that you were so nice. I was like, what's the deal here?
And so, the cigar chomping guy in the convertible Mercedes doing blow and all that.
Yeah.
That
It's only partially true.
No, absolutely, it's not true until
kidding.
I mean, like, I don't know anybody. Thing, I don't know anybody like that. I understand the character of it, but I don't know anybody like that. So I was like, I just want to talk about it. And selfishly, I want to learn. I'm a student and I want to learn. I want to get better. And I want to talk to people about what do real producers do, in quotes, real. I mean, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? So I've interviewed Adam Sandler because he's one of my mentors. He's one of the best producers in the business, and people may not know that. I interviewed Isla Fisher and Rebel Wilson, two unbelievably smart, capable comedians that just pulled themselves up by the bootstraps on their own and figured out that they have to be producers. They can't just wait around for roles to come to them. I've interviewed Eli Roth and Neil Moritz and Marty Bowen and Michael DeLuca and, produced 50 Shades of Grey and has 2 Academy Award nominations. Like all of my peers that I completely look up to, because I want people to hear from the ground zero of what we're doing, that it's not easy. It's not easy for us. It's going to be hard, but you can do it. And it's worth it, and it's fun. And it's rewarding.
Todd, thank you so much.
You're welcome, brother.
Is there anything that I have not asked you where you're like, oh, I got to mention this?
No, I just want, I hope everybody who, wants to do it and wants to be in this business and does it. And again, like you're doing podcasting, not worry about the money, man. Just try and do it. And do it for the love of it, and the money will come.
Yeah, I'm through that part. I think the year number 12 that we're in right now, it's like, okay, we're through worrying about whether or not this is going to pay off. But
nice to meet you.
Likewise.
All right. Thanks.